Thank you, Dr. Gillig. I am Tori Martinez. I am a senior at Adams State, double majoring in sociology and psychology. But before I get into my research and tell you what our research questions were and attempt to answer those questions for you, I'd like to share with you a little information about why we thought this research was important to begin with. Have you ever made a mistake? You said something or you did something and then you thought, why did I do that? Why did I say that? What are people going to think of me now? Will I be able to recover from this mistake? It was that line of thinking, that line of reasoning that led us to conduct our research project. It was that line of thinking that was the purpose behind our research questions. And those questions, the first one has to do with people's perceptions of women, perceptions of their leadership qualities, perceptions of their competency, and the consequences that women face when they make a mistake. So our first question was, do women get punished more for their mistakes than men do? Our second question had to deal with society's perceptions of men, their leadership qualities, their competency, and the consequences that women face because of men's perceptions. And that question was, do men receive more credit for their leadership abilities than women do? We decided to conduct our research within the area of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. We were very interested in women in the STEM field. The reason behind that is because as young children, boys and girls equally aspire to be doctors, lawyers, politicians, or the President of the United States. By the time they reach middle school, only 11% of those same young girls aspire to be doctors, lawyers, and President of the United States. By the time those same young girls from middle school get into high school, the gender disparity is even greater. By the time they get into college, 51.8% of undergraduate students are female. Of those 51%, only 18.4% pursue a STEM degree. This is a little video that will explain to you a little bit more about why we believe women in leadership positions within the STEM field is so important.
Everyone's talking about STEM careers. But what about women in science, technology, engineering, and math? We all know camping with friends can be a breath of fresh air. But have you thought about how, as an environmental engineer, you can protect those woods for camping trips to come? But only 1 in 3 environmental engineers is a woman. It's obvious that you've already perfected the selfie. Try developing an app to create the perfect anything else. Right now, of 4 software developers, only 1 woman is creating software with code. You like video chatting with friends, right? It's like she's right there with you. Now, imagine building a network to keep the world that connected as an electrical engineer. Today, only 1 of every 8 in that role is female. And don't you just love the feeling of airtime during the roller coaster's big drop? You should try the feeling that comes when your theory holds up. But just 1 in 6 of those celebrating physicists is a woman. You can rule any castle you design in your living room. And you could design a bridge to expand your kingdom. Except of 8 civil engineers, just 1 is female. You can turn the things you love into the thing you do. So, explore STEM, and you can change the statistics and change the world.
So we believe that the implications for this kind of research not only reach into the STEM field for women, but also into other fields that are considered male-dominated fields. And that was another reason why we chose STEM, because it is considered a male-dominated field, and because there are more men in the STEM field than there are women. So let's move on to the methods that we used for our research. We used a qualitative research approach. And we had 298 Adams State students participate in our research. we asked them to watch either of two videos. These videos that we created, we recruited two chemistry majors. One was male and one was female, and they helped us to create these videos. In video one, our male student actor, Darin, took on the leadership role, and our female student actor made the error in this video. In video two, our female student actor, Nicole, took on the leadership role, and our male student actor made the error. The reason we designed the videos this way is because, one, we wanted to see if Adams State students would choose to hire the person in the leadership position regardless of gender. And second, we wanted to see if there would be a difference among Adams State students' perceptions of those leadership positions when they made an error. We did use some slight deception in our research project, so we did have to get the IRB approval. So for those of you who aren't familiar, it's the the Institute Review Board, and so they did have to approve our research project. After watching the video, we asked these students to take a short survey. So the deception came in that we told them that they were going to help us decide which student we were going to choose for a chemistry lab assistant position to help us teach at the university. And so with that in mind, that's how the students filled out the survey. So let's move on to our results. This is our data results. So these were all of the numbers after crunching in the data. This is what we came up with. But rather than trying to explain to you what all of these numbers mean, what I'd like to do is tell you a story about what we discovered in our research. We asked students to rate the leadership qualities of both Darin and Nicole, and they had a choice of 5 qualities. We asked them, did Darin and Nicole take charge? Were they skilled? Were they knowledgeable? Did they seem serious about their career? And did they communicate well? The top 3 leadership qualities that you see here were pretty equal across the board. So Adams State students rated both Nicole and Darin as pretty equal in all 3 of those leadership qualities. The significant difference came in the last 2 qualities. Were they serious about their career, and did they communicate well? So Nicole's information is here, Darin's information is here, and what we see is that 66% of Adams State students believe that Nicole was serious about her career, but only 56% believe Darin was serious about his career. We believe that number came about because it's a male-dominated field in STEM. The mere fact that a woman is entering into that field must mean that she's serious about her career. The communication part was a little surprising because typically people assume that women communicate well, or at least that women communicate more. So 47% of students said that they believe Nicole communicated well. 55% said that they thought Darin communicated well. But I'd like to go into the communication piece just a little bit deeper. So this is the rankings on communication. On the left side, you'll see Darin's information. On the right side, you'll see Nicole's information. Basically, what this tells us is that Adams State students believed that when Darin took the leadership role, he was more liked, and when Nicole took the submissive role, she was more liked. So what that tells us is that likability is positively correlated with men and negatively correlated with females. That's a little disappointing, a little disheartening, but it was a very interesting finding for us. So then another piece was the competence, and we asked students to rate the competence of Darin and Nicole on a scale from 1 to 10. Darin's numbers are on the top, Nicole's numbers are on the bottom. If you look here, when Nicole was in charge, students rated her competency about an 8. When Darin was in charge, same thing, they rated his competency about an 8. So that was pretty equal. The significant difference came when they made an error. So when Nicole made an error, her competency dropped from an 8 to a 7. But when Darin made an error, his competency dropped from an 8 to a 5. And so what that told us was that because it's a male-dominated field, society expects men to do well. And when they don't, they're punished more harshly. Because it's a male-dominated field, society doesn't expect that much from women. So when she makes a mistake, it's not that noticeable because they didn't expect that much from her to begin with. And there is an expectancy effect research that we found that supported this finding. Another interesting finding came in the actual mistakes that they made. So 49.3% of students believed or noticed when Darin made a mistake, but 55% of students noticed it when Nicole made a mistake. So they were more likely to notice her mistake than they were to notice his. Ultimately, we asked students, who would you hire? Would you hire Darin? Would you hire Nicole? Or would you hire neither? The overall numbers are on top. When Darin was in charge, 92% of students said that they would hire him. When Nicole was in charge, 83% of students said that they would hire her. When Darin was in charge, only 2% of students said that they would hire neither. When Nicole was in charge, that increased a little bit. 9% of students said that they would hire neither. This number here is the male students on campus. So we decided to take it a little further, and we separated the data into female students and male students. So the male students, when Nicole was in charge, 88% said that they would hire her. When Darin was in charge, 89% said that they would hire him. There is a slight difference, but it's not that significant. So basically, if male students watched video 1 where Darin was in charge, they'd hire him. If they watched video 2 where Nicole was in charge, they would hire her. That was not the case with the female students on campus, and that was a little surprising for us. When Nicole was in charge, only 78% of female students said that they would hire her. When Darin was in charge, 95% of female students said that they would hire her. When given the choice after watching the video with Nicole in charge, female students, rather than hire Nicole, 14.5% said they would hire neither. And that tells us that female students were harder on the female. Taking it a little bit further, we also separated students into majors. And what we found was there was 2 majors on campus where there was a little bit more gender bias than any of the other majors. And that was in the hard sciences, so chemistry, biology, and the like, and the social sciences. The greatest difference are here. Men in social sciences were harder on Nicole, and women in the hard sciences were harder on Nicole. So now I'd like to take you a little bit behind the scenes and tell you a little bit more about how we did our research. After everything was finished, all the data was analyzed, we did a debriefing with the students. So we went back into the classroom and talked to the students, told them the truth about the research project, that they weren't actually helping us decide who we were going to hire as a lab assistant, but that they were trying to determine perceptions of competency and errors. And so we had some very interesting conversations with the students as a result of that. The other interesting behind-the-scenes thing was in the filming of the videos. And we asked the students first to do a run-through, to behave as if they were working as a team on a chemistry experiment. And they went through that fine. They had no problems. They were great as a team. And then we moved on to video 1, and they also did fine. Darin was in charge. Nicole made the error. The interesting thing came when we were filming video 2. When Nicole took on the leadership role and Darin took on the error, we actually had to coach Nicole how to project her voice, how to take on the leadership role, and we had to coach Darin how to not do power poses, how to let her take charge, and how to talk a little quieter. And both of our student actors were very surprised at their own behavior and how they were behaving so stereotypically. So that was really eye-opening for our students. So going back to our research question, are women punished more harshly for their mistakes? Our research actually found that no, they weren't. It was actually the male who was punished more harshly. But in answering questions, as part of research, you always end up with more questions. And so these were the 3 questions that we ended up something that we would like to find the answers to in future research. So why are women harder on other women? That is a question we would like to have answered by future research. And also, what if we studied different types of errors? For example, if we studied a moral error, would that make any difference in our findings? And then lastly, would we get the same results if we did the same study in a female-dominated field, for example, nursing? So what does all of this research mean to you, and what can you do with all of this information? So it's my hope that you can choose to be consciously more aware of how you are judging women who are coming from a position of leadership and authority, and why you are judging them. But even more than that, if you take away one thing from this presentation today, I hope it's this. Don't be afraid to take off your gendered glasses. We all have them. We've all grown up with them. We've all been ingrained by society, by media, by family, whatever the case may be, to see the world through gendered eyes. But if you remove your gendered glasses, then you are free to see each and every person for their skills, their talents, their abilities, free to see them for who they are here and here. And I hope that's the message that you take away. And thank you for listening to my presentation today. Does anybody have any questions?
Are the videos of the lab setting available to watch anywhere? I'm curious to actually see the mistakes.
You know, I tried to load them into this, and because the file sizes were so large, I wasn't able to get them online. If we can eventually, this Prezi is available online, and you can go and Google my name at any time and it'll come up. Hopefully eventually we can get those videos.
If you want to show them in a 30, it'd probably take time to bring them up, but we could show about a minute 30 of it.
Oh, okay.
If we wanted. Does anyone want to see little snippets of the videos?
While she's bringing that up, does anybody else have any questions?
You were talking about the hard sciences. What about the softer sciences, like the computer science?
So we did divide it up into those as well. So all of the students that we surveyed, we asked them what your major is, and so we separated it off. But it was more egalitarian, it was more equal through the other sciences. It was basically those 2 majors where we found the most gender differences.
Okay, could you write a balanced chemical reaction for one of the solids that you formed?
Okay.
Which one should we do?
I think we should do this one right here.
Alright, so that one is which?
So that's actually going to be your copper hydroxide. Make sure you add a 2 to the hydroxide because it has to balance the charge. Because the hydroxide has a -1 and then the copper has a +2.
So wait, what?
You have to balance your hydroxide as having 2, and your copper is just going to be a anion.
Okay, could you write a balanced chemical reaction for one of the solids you formed?
Okay. Okay. So which one do you want to do?
Let's do this one.
Okay, and which one is that?
It's going to be the copper hydroxide. And make sure you add a 2 for your hydroxide to balance it out, since your hydroxide has a -1 and your copper has a +2.
So, wait, what?
So you have to balance out your hydroxide, so you have to have a 2. And your copper is going to be your cation.
So those were the 2 little sections of the videos.
So, any other questions?